Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first breakout session of the day, where AI can help you do your job better and where it can't. My name's John Monroe, and I'm the Director of Content at GovLoop. And for this session, I'm also your moderator. Thanks so much for being here. And I do want to say, I hope you're able to attend some of our opening keynotes. Those were some great sessions. If for some reason you couldn't attend, please be sure to watch them after the event. I'll say later, we will be sending you a link so you can watch anything that you missed. But let's get to our current session. So, without a doubt, AI is the hottest tech trend in government right now. No doubt about it. However, I think there's a lot of confusion or at least uncertainty about the impact it will have. The impact on the work you do each day, the impact on how you support your agency's mission. So that's the focus of this session. Our expert will talk about how daily operations will change and what likely won't change at all. But before we get to that content, I do have a few housekeeping items I need to cover. If you're at the morning sessions, these will sound familiar, but here we go. First, if you're on Twitter or X, I guess is what we're supposed to say. Well, anyway, either way, we'd love to hear what you're learning. And so when you share your takeaways, please use the hashtag NextGenGov. We have some great resources available for you to download, including the slide deck, so you can find those in the resource module of your console. And of course, we hope you don't have any technical difficulties, but if you do, just post a message in the Q&A tab of your console, and my colleague Jessica will help you out. And you can use that same Q&A portal to submit questions to our expert. And feel free to drop them in at any time during the session. I'll be monitoring that. Also, we have an open chat available. Here you can interact with other attendees. So we want to hear from you. Everyone wants to hear from you, so don't be shy. And if you get pulled away during the session, don't sweat it. Like I just said, tomorrow we're going to email you a link to the entire event so that you can catch up on anything you missed. All right, now finally, we are giving out a CPE credit for your participation in today's session. To get that credit, you need to do 3 things. First, participate for the entire session, and of course you're going to participate for the entire session. So much good stuff. Second, take all the polls. And as you'll see, the polls will be shown in the slide windows as part of the presentation. So each time, just select your response, click submit, you're good to go. And third, fill out the post-event CPE evaluation form. You can find that evaluation form in the resource module of your console, or if you need to do it later, go into the resource center of the main environment, and you can find it there. And so all CPEs will be emailed to you directly once we've confirmed you met all the requirements. Whew. All right, I'm tired from going through all that. So let's move past that, and let me introduce you to our expert. Joining us this morning is Joshua Martin. Josh is the Chief Data Officer for the state of Indiana and the Executive Director of the Indiana Management Performance Hub. He's got a lot of insights and experiences to share with you all. So without further ado, Josh, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks, John, for that introduction, and it's great to be here to share some of something that I'm really passionate about, which is AI and the future that it's going to have here in the public sector. As John said, my name is Josh Martin, and I serve as the Chief Data Officer for the state here in Indiana. So as part of my duties for the Chief Data Officer, we have that in statute, so I'm a gubernatorial appointee. But I did come up through the agency, so I've been with the state for about 12 years. I also serve as that executive director, and I have advisory capacity for state agencies and locals, also for coordination of our executive branch transparency and analytics. So from a history standpoint, the Management Performance Hub, which is our centralized analytics and data exchange agency here, so we do have a state agency that is focused solely on leveraging data as a strategic asset. Was first created in 2014 via an executive order, which brought together really performance management folks from our Office of Management and Budget and IT folks from our Office of Technology. We did a couple of projects early on that were very focused on certain problems that were really cross agencies, like infant mortality and recidivism, things where we needed data from different silos that we could bring together. And that started the creation of our data platform. So in July 1st of 2017, we were officially codified in the Indiana Open Data Act, which created my role that I sit in today. And I'm the second chief data officer. I was formerly chief of staff until December of 2019. So I've been here for a little while. Our mission is really to improve the outcomes for Hoosiers, for our citizens. And that we do that through leveraging our data, our innovative technology, our collaboration with other folks to help make data-driven decisions and to help inform policy using data. So the goals for this session, my goals for you, is to really demystify and provide the basic understandings of what AI is, capabilities, and what limitations are. I want to showcase some practical examples of AI applications that will be relevant to your government work as well as your personal work. Address some potential concerns and ethical considerations, as well as empowering you guys to explore and utilize these tools in effective manners, either in your professional life or in your personal life. So what is AI? AI has been around for a long time. It's just now gotten a lot more popular because we have generative AI, like ChatGPT, like Gemini, like all of the different entities that are out there. But AI has really been around for quite a while. If you think back to 1996, Deep Blue, IBM's supercomputer that was focused on chess, did a competition against Kasparov, the chess world champion, and lost 2-4. But it was updated in 17, and on the rematch, won 2 and drew on 3. So it's pretty big deal back then as being the first big AI implementation that came out. So 96 has been quite a while ago. And then as we think through kind of coming for the future, the next big public-facing AI was Watson. Watson was on Jeopardy in 2011 against Ken Jennings and Brad Rutter, two of the most amazing Jeopardy players of the time, and beat their pants off to win the $1 million prize. But if you think about this AI, they're really good at doing one thing, playing chess or answering Jeopardy questions. But I bet you I would beat the pants off of Deep Blue if it came to a game of checkers. So that's really where we start to get into what is this ANI, which is artificial narrow intelligence. So that is really the world that we're in today. And we're calling that the weak AI. So if you look at how that overlaps some of the blue concentric circles, there's multiple parts to what AI is and what machine learning is and how we get into the deeper computer learning with our goal of making computers be able to do more complex things closer to what humans can do with our brains. So our narrow AI, most common that we're encountering today, designed to excel at one specific task, but limited context. And there's really predefined parameters like chess or answering Jeopardy questions. It can outperform humans in those specific domains, but it can't generalize and apply that knowledge elsewhere, like from chess to checkers. But we also think of more modern examples that have been out that we have encountered in multipliers are virtual assistants like Siri and Alexa, image recognition software that can identify a bus or a tree or another car, recommendation algorithms on our streaming platforms like Netflix that's saying, hey, you've watched this might be your next hot thing that you're interested in. So that's really the world that we're living in today. And we're starting to move now towards this general AI. With these large language models and generative AI, we're taking a half step that direction. And it's really important to know that the move from narrow to general is a huge advancement. I mean, this is big time stuff that we're talking about. And it's really getting us closer to achieving that human level intelligence with the ability to learn, understand, apply that knowledge across a wide range of tasks. There's still a lot of it that's in the theoretical stage, but it's still a pretty big challenge for AI researchers. But if you think of some of the examples of moving into general AI, this could be like a robot that can do all your household chores, your laundry, could go over and do your dishes, could vacuum, or a computer program that can write creative fiction and do it well, or your virtual assistant that can actually have a meaningful conversation with you. Right now, they don't really have the most meaningful conversations if you're talking to your Siri or your Alexa. And then the next step from that is this super AI. And this is where we start to think about things that are just so far in the future. It's science fiction. It's so hypothetical that it's only in the movies. So this is the most advanced and speculative type of AI. This gets into really advanced neural networks and deep learning. So really computers being able to continue to iteratively learn and learn like the human brain, and to be able to solve complex problems behind our comprehension, and even surpass the capabilities of humans for new knowledge and understanding. And very hypothetical right now, but we're trying to understand that more and more about how we can get there, because it could provide really good benefits to society, like helping us design and build new technologies that can predict and prevent future events, or understand and manipulate, human emotions. So as we're progressing through this AI journey as it stands today, we're really right now in that narrow AI, the weak AI state, that we have good AI that can do one thing in one domain very, very well. But we're starting to move into that general AI area, which is an exciting step forward for those of us in the AI space and in the data space. But I think it's going to be an exciting step forward for everybody as they learn really what this AI is capable of. So we'll take our first little survey here, quiz time. So these images below, if you're familiar with them, if you're younger or significantly younger, you might not be as familiar with some of these, but they're examples of what category of AI: narrow, general, or super AI.
So Josh, while people are answering that question, I got a question for you. So how did you come to learn so much about AI? How did you begin on this journey?
I'm a huge nerd. I've always been really curious about technology and technology enablement. I started exploring stuff way back when, even pre-internet, when I could connect via my phone line to one data system that could tell me my teacher's salaries at the school. To moving through, how can I continue to leverage, computers and the work that's happening, and specifically what's happening in the AI space, to become more efficient. I love efficiency. I love to get rid of menial tasks. I love to help others get rid of menial tasks so they can spend their time on more value-added things. So I did my undergraduate in political science and law and society, and I got a minor in forensic science. So you start to get exposed to some of that there, and you're using statistics and the like. I went on to do my master's in public administration and public affairs with a focus on sustainability and sustainable innovation, and comparative international affairs. And we're using a little bit more advanced statistics there, but basically econometrics and multivariate linear regression modeling. So I learned a lot of the statistics through my formal education, but through my government education, I've just been exposed to technology really from the start. Starting in 2012, we were really limited to Excel and email. That was pretty much the extent of our tool sets. And as we moved on, really more tools started to become available for exploring data, to be able to bring data together. Business intelligence tools where you could connect to data, you could clean it up, you could visualize that data, you could tell a data story. So that became a really big interest for me, and I've just continued to learn more. I'm really a lifelong learner. I love to learn and explore and get hands-on with this stuff. So that's how I got into it, and I continue to be hands-on pretty much every day.
Excellent.
Well, all right. Move on. Hopefully, everybody's had a chance to answer. Wow. So we had a pretty decent amount thinking we're in narrow, some in the general, and some in the super. If you think about all of those examples there, the Terminator, R2-D2 and C-3PO, and Johnny 5, my favorite. They all had more human intelligence, and they could build emotion, especially Johnny 5, the most emotional character, and to be able to think in more than one domain. So these would actually all fall in the super AI category, which is where we get folks that are very concerned about the future of AI and the ethics of AI, and what happens, if we develop a Terminator that comes back in time and teaches me how to do things better. So those would be super AI examples. So what is the real world application for using AI in government? So we already are using it in certain spaces to enhance efficiency, improve services, and inform our decision making. So in our administrative and public services, we have chatbots and virtual assistants. We're using it for fraud detection and prevention, document automation. In the public safety, it's been used for facial recognition and cybersecurity to help automatically detect network intrusions and other things that are happening out there that we don't want to be happening to our systems. And for our policy and decision-making realm, this whole analysis and ability to try to predict trends is really helpful as we're trying to make those policy decisions, as well as economic modeling, something we've been doing for quite a while. Introducing AI into that economic modeling, it can do that math a lot better and a lot faster. So we can iterate on it and continue to answer those questions and to get that information that we're using to try to make better decisions, provide better services, and drive policy in the most informed direction. But there's challenges and ethical considerations. So you have to use AI with caution. There's big concerns with bias and fairness. AI does not have the ethical or moral compass that we have. So it is going to use the most efficient and effective way to get to the answer without considering things that we would consider biased or fairness. And a lot of our data systems can be built in a way that is either unintentionally or intentionally biased for one reason or another. So those are things to be concerned with and to be cautioned about as you're looking at leveraging AI in the space. Privacy concerns. When you start to layer AI on top of multiple data systems, it can open the door to violating privacy or being able to dig into people's things that we really, as a society, don't want to do. Privacy is a very important thing, especially in today's discussions that are out there that we need to be very considerate of when we're using advanced technologies. And being transparent and accountable. I think this is really, really important to make sure that the AI that we're using, we're letting people know that this is AI. We're being accountable for the wrong decisions that it makes, and we're retraining models and we're reevaluating them. So we're constantly letting people know that this is AI and this is what it's intended to do, and being held accountable when that AI does not do what it's intended to do, and fixing it. That's the most important part, is we go back and fix it so it can do the right things. So where do you think you can use AI to enhance your efficiency, to improve services, and inform decision-making in your role? So John, how about you? How are you using AI in your life?
That's really interesting. The part of AI that intrigues me is how AI can serve as an interface, basically, to the World Wide Web. And to what extent is it going to make it much easier to find the information that we're interested in? And so that's something I've been playing with mixed results right now. Because the current models don't always have the most up-to-date information, et cetera. And I actually have come across hallucination, where I asked for a book recommendation on a topic. It gave me 5 books, 3 of which did not actually exist, because I knew the authors and I knew they hadn't written those books. And so I can't remember which system I was using. I said, hey, some of those books aren't real. And it replied, oh, sorry. Well, these ones are real, and they still got it wrong.
Yeah, there are serious limitations to some of the things that are out there. And sometimes it really just depends on how you're queuing it up. What are you feeding into it from your question? How are you phrasing your question, and how are you iterating from that? Now, I asked an AI to go out and create an executive resume for me. And it actually did a pretty decent job from the cue that I put in. It tried to guess what my email address was. It guessed what my LinkedIn was. However, it was wrong on both, but the email address was in the right governmental format. It came back with some good examples of things that I've been able to accomplish in the past, and it came back with some recommendations of things I could consider from that template. But it also told me it doesn't have access to the most recent and up-to-date information, so you need to be cautionary about that.
Right.
So yeah, there's definitely some limitations to some of the things that are out there and publicly available to play with. So keeping those in mind and making sure you're double checking and being that human sidecar to the AI. You know, it can get you some of the way there, but the rest of it, you got to make sure that you're checking it too.
And of course, we all, the one thing I, just keep reminding myself is like, we're still so early in this technology. I mean,
Absolutely.
I got a feeling, in 1 year, 2 years, a lot of the things that we see now, a lot of those kind of quirky things, is like, they're going to be a thing of the past.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you think about, going back to Deep Blue, going back to Watson,
Yeah.
and the amount of hardware and computing power for the time that they had to put into that was massive. I mean, there's things now that, I can do on my phone that Deep Blue really couldn't do. So we're just advancing so much in technology, and there's certain areas that we have some limitation on, like storage. Storage isn't as good, as efficient, as quick as some of our processing is. So that can be a limitation on things. But as everything continues to evolve and get better, especially when we get into the world of quantum computing, which is still really in its infancy, it's going to provide a lot of extra functionality compared to our traditional computing. Just in the ways it is. We won't get into quantum because it's really hard to get your head around, and makes my head hurt from time to time. But it is something to be thinking about too for the future, how quantum is going to impact us, because everything starts to advance at a faster speed.
I was doing some research on quantum. I actually interviewed a quantum physicist, but talking about machine learning in quantum, it's like, wow, machine learning is going to go to a whole new level, once we hit quantum.
Absolutely. So. Especially for things that just have so many different options and capabilities, like inviting people to a party and getting the right seating chart. Well, when you have 4 people, it's easy. When you have 300 people, you have so many permutations of what that could look like. But quantum computing can do all of that very quickly. Traditional computing would take quite a bit more time. So hopefully everybody got a chance to answer this one about how they think they can use it. And we'll see. Everybody thinks that Alexa and Siri for the weather is not a huge benefit to their job, but analyzing documents and making improvements, about 40%, and drafting emails, documents, or presentations, of 54%. So, I mean, that's a great mix about thinking about how you can use this in your current role. So let's talk a little bit more about these specific portions of AI. So the first question being, asking Alexa or Siri about the weather. So, hey, Siri, tell me about the weather today. Well, she didn't tell me, but she did give me that the weather in Indianapolis is 72. There's a drizzle, 60% chance of rain, and to expect rain, and it's definitely raining outside. Hey, Siri, could you find a time in my calendar when I can schedule a dentist appointment that would work? There's nothing called dentist appointment on your calendar. So as we get into some of those more complex things that we want them to do, they're just not as good at it for doing some of those things. So very good at simple tasks, not great at complex tasks. That's why I have an executive assistant that helps me out. But when we get into things like analyzing basic documents, where we had a pretty good portion of folks that were in there, AI provides a really, really great opportunity here. Not only in what you're doing professionally, if you can feed it information, which you need to be cautious about what you feed into, especially public AI, like ChatGPT or like Google's Gemini or any of the other ones that are out there, because once you feed it in there, it's not your data anymore. So you wouldn't want to be putting anything sensitive in there. You wouldn't want to be putting anything that could cause an issue. But if you're doing something like my personal example here, where I was tasked with going and finding all the stuff that I've been either quoted in or participated in or done for the last couple of years for something my communications director is putting together. So I had to go out to my Google and just start Googling my name, which, that's when you made it, when you Google yourself and you show up. But I do have to put Indiana CDO in there because there's a lot of Josh Martins in the world. But I went out and I started copying the title straight from the website, writing what it is, if it was a podcast or an article, the date, and then dropping a hyperlink in there to where it's at. So just really trying to gather that information. And this was all in a Word document. And then it's like, well, how do I make this something of value? I've taken the time to put the information together, but this document doesn't look great, and definitely has opportunities to be enhanced, not only with formatting but with information. So I took this document and I fed the document into Gemini, which is Google's AI, and asked it to take a look at this document and improve it. And this is what it came back with. So it gave me the articles featuring myself as Indiana's Chief Data Officer, a nice little intro. And not only that, it put these into categories, which some of them were good in that category. Some of them I needed to move around a little bit to make it make a little more sense. Provided summaries from those links of what these articles were about, or guesses what they could be about, which were kind of decent. And then took that long web address that I pasted in there and created it into a simple link. So for me to do this, we're talking about a lot of work. This took seconds by uploading this document and giving a cue to Gemini to help me make some improvements on it. So I think this shows a really good practical example about some of the things that you can do with AI for doing document generation, for doing improvement to some of this work. And for drafting emails, documents, or presentations, another good opportunity area here is looking at, how do we draft an email? How do we create a document from the base? It's really hard to start sometimes on like a data strategy, things that I have to work on, or other documents from just a blank word processing screen. It's always nice to get an example out there or a template you can work from, or at least some base things that you can start filling in the blanks and making it more tailored to what your use case is, make it more tailored to what your audience is. So what I went to do is I went to go to ChatGPT, but oh no, it's blocked on my laptop for security. Yikes. So I cannot access chat.openai.com, which is ChatGPT's general address, because FundBlocker from our Office of Technology has decided it's a no-no for us to use. But it's okay. I've got the app on my personal phone. So this is something that I fed into ChatGPT to write my colleague an email to the Indiana CIO requesting that the ChatGPT website be unlocked to allow employees to leverage it for help with tasks like drafting emails. So this was my feed into ChatGPT, of which it responded, subject, request to unblock ChatGPT website for employee productivity. Dear Indiana CIO's name, I hope this email finds you well. I'm writing to request the unblocking of the ChatGPT website for employees within our organization. As you may be aware, ChatGPT is an incredibly useful tool that leverages AI to assist users with various tasks, including drafting emails, generating ideas, and answering queries. By unblocking access to ChatGPT, our employees can benefit from its capabilities, thereby enhancing productivity and efficiency in their daily tasks. Allowing access to ChatGPT aligns with our commitment to providing employees the resources they need to excel in their roles. Moreover, it encourages innovation and fosters a culture of continuous learning within our organization. I assure you that we will ensure responsible usage of ChatGPT and adhere to all cybersecurity protocols to mitigate any potential risks associated with its usage. I kindly request your consideration of this proposal and would be grateful for your support in unblocking the ChatGPT website for our employees. Should you require any further information or clarification, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Best regards. I need to put my name and my position, my contact phone number. And this was sent from my personal iPhone. This is a little soft and fluffy, knowing the CIO. He's a personal colleague, a friend of mine. He's going to look at this and say, this did not come from the CDO. I know him well. We spend a lot of time together. He would not write something like this to me. So I asked ChatGPT after this to make it more assertive, and I let it know that the CIO is Tracy Barnes, and the emails from state CDO, Josh Martin, myself. We get us another response back. Subject, urgent. Request for immediate unblocking of the ChatGPT website. Dear Tracy Barnes, I hope this email finds you well. I'm writing to urgently request the immediate unblocking of the ChatGPT website for all employees within our organization. ChatGPT is an invaluable resource that harnesses AI to assist users in various tasks, such as drafting emails, brainstorming ideas, and problem solving. By denying access to ChatGPT, we are hindering our employees' ability to leverage innovative tools and impeding their productivity. As the State Chief Data Officer, it is imperative we provide our workforce with the necessary tools and resources to excel in their roles. Blocking access to ChatGPT not only limits productivity, but also stifles creativity and innovation within our organization. I urge you to reconsider the decision to block ChatGPT and prioritize the needs of our employees. Unblocking the website will empower our workforce to work more efficiently and effectively, ultimately benefiting the state as a whole. Your prompt attention to this matter is greatly appreciated. Please let me know if you require any further information or assistance in resolving this issue. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. Best regards. So you can see very different tone there as we became a little more assertive on a lot of the same content, but a little more aggressive in nature and a little more demanding in nature. And like I said, Tracy and I work together quite a bit. We have a very hand in glove relationship. And I would never send him something this assertive or aggressive because it just doesn't make friends. But these are things that you can do to help modify some of your messaging, to help build iteratively on what your input is by learning what an AI puts out, reading that information, and then determining what changes you want made or what additions you want to have. So that's really a powerful tool within these generative AI capabilities that are out there, is that you can start with a chat prompt that's very general, read what comes back to give you an idea, and then continue to give new chat prompts to ask it to improve or change whatever you're working on, whether that be an email or a document or a memo. So I think that that's something that all of us can use in our personal and professional lives to help us do some of these things. But like I said, you need a human sidecar to make sure that it comes out here. I wouldn't have wanted to just use that first cue and copy that into my Outlook and send it. That wouldn't have looked very good. This one, the same way, Tracy's going to read this, and Tracy's a big man. He's a lot larger than me. And the next time he sees me, it's probably not going to be a pleasant experience. So I'm thinking about Tracy and our working relationship and how we spend a lot of time together. I put a new prompt in there to ask you to make it a short, funny poem instead. So the subject, a lighthearted plea, unlock ChatGPT. Dear Tracy Barnes, in tasks both big and small, our team could use a hand to draft those emails one and all. With wit, we'll take a stand. ChatGPT, a trusty friend, blocked by some cruel twist. Unchain its bytes, let it ascend. Our productivity won't be missed. So here's a plea with humor bright to unblock this AI delight. For emails crisp and ideas flight, let ChatGPT shine in our sight. Best regards, and my information. Tracy would take that a lot better than some of the other email attempts on this place. But this shows you a good example about how you can start from one prompt and continue to evolve that and make it more suitable to what your need and your intent is, and learn. And not only that, it gives you more ideas than what you might have on your own. Similar to us talking to colleagues or going into a meeting or running into somebody in the lunchroom and talking about some of your work, and they give you the, hey, well, have you thought about this? Or, hey, have you gone to this? This is very similar in that, where you can kind of have a little bit of a conversation about something specific that it can help maybe give you some better ideas about how to put something together, how to draft emails better, how to look at documents and the structure of those documents and recommendations about wording. I've used it in other circumstances where I've uploaded a document and asked it to evaluate that and give me a summary. And it actually does a pretty decent job at that. So I know a lot of us read a lot of lengthy things from time to time, at least I do, RFP responses and the like. But being able to upload that and asking what an evaluation of what this document looks like. I've done it also with emails on my personal front, to ask it to evaluate an email and give me some recommendations. And it did an excellent job at that, evaluating the tone, the content, and the potential mitigating factors of this, and providing some recommendations back. So I think this is a really great example of how we can use it for drafting emails, putting documents together, creating presentations, doing this brainstorming and helping us out. So moving on, where it can't help. AI can't help inform your decision, but it shouldn't be making your decision for you. So you can help it for putting the information together, but you should not rely on it to be making your decision. AI is not there yet, and it's not going to be there for a while. We don't want to just unleash AI to go make every decision we're doing. We're still going to need to have human input, reading, reviewing, bringing those ethics, those morals into it, and bringing the external knowledge that the AI may not have when it comes to making these decisions. So it's going to be helpful in ideation, brainstorming, but not making those decisions. This generative AI like Gemini and ChatGPT will help with drafting, but it should not take place of your review of this content generated. As you saw in a couple of examples here, that it will produce something and bring it back, but you don't know if it's always something that you want, whether it be the tone or the content, or it may come back with fake books and fake authors or other things that it's just, making up based on what it knows or thinks it knows, to give you something back on that. Never send sensitive information into a web-based AI tool. I can't say that enough. Whether it be code or data, anything that is sensitive that you wouldn't want to be out there, do not send it to a web-based AI tool, period. And the other thing is it can't help without your curiosity, your exploration, your hands-on trial, and innovative mind. So you have to be open to exploring. You have to be curious about this stuff. You need to get hands-on with it. It's a lot of trial and error, figuring out, how it thinks and what it brings back, and then figuring out how you apply that. So, leverage your curiosity on this phone. Explore those. Download the ChatGPT to your personal phone, not your work phone. They won't like that. But go out and leverage these opportunities that you have in a safe manner, and in ways that you can start to learn about what they can do, and also being aware of what they can't do. So the more you explore, the more you'll understand what they're really capable of. So my goals for this session were to demystify AI and provide a basic understanding of its capabilities and limitations, showcase those practical examples of AI applications relevant to the government work, address potential concerns and ethical considerations surrounding AI implementation, empower employees to explore and utilize AI tools effectively in their roles and hopefully safely as well. So hopefully this was an informative session for all of you. My last survey question here is, what did you think of this session? I enjoyed it, found it useful, and I'm taking away ideas for how I can use AI. I knew most of this, but it was a nice refresher, or I'm just glad I got my continuing education credit.
All right, well, while people are answering that, let me ask you this. So when the examples you gave, let's talk about that email. You kind of went through this very iterative process, where you started out, like you said, with more general and then fine tune. How do you learn how to do that? I hear the term prompt engineer.
Yeah.
How do you can you talk about that process of just learning to write, effective prompts?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities out there to get more familiar with some of this. So Gemini has a whole studio of these different prompts that you can go look at. People are creating cheat sheets for them, for how you do your inputs and what you should be thinking about, and other things that you can add to these prompts to make them more effective, like assertive nature in your email, or making things a poem, or there's different things that you can do. But exploring it has been my personal experience, is the best way for me to learn it, and going out and searching for some of these things like the prompt guides and the like, and figuring out, what things do you want to try that are applicable to the work that you're doing or what you're trying at home.
All right. So let me throw something at you. I've heard this statement, and this is from a government official. We were talking about AI, and he said, and I know others have said this, AI is not going to take your job, but someone who knows AI is going to take the job of someone who doesn't. All right. Take that wherever you want, but talk about this whole dynamic around AI and job security and all that. How do you see this sort of playing out?
I mean, we've already seen it in certain examples that we can think of. I mean, if we think of optical character recognition, scanning things and understanding what letters these things are, which, by the way, we all fed that information into that model. All those CAPTCHA things where you have to write the letters out, where all of that data went in to help create this really high quality OCR technology. But a lot of things, I mean, specifically here in our State Department of Revenue, we used to get a whole lot of tax returns that were mailed in. Some of them handwritten on the form, some of them a printed form. But rather than having somebody open the envelope, unfold that, and manually type it into the tax system, we were able to leverage high quality scanners to do optical character recognition with the software that's on that and automatically put that data into the system. So it's really replacing what is a very manual, not a lot of thinking, not a lot of fun job, and freeing up that human capital to do more meaningful jobs. So I think that's where a big part is of this is it can free up some of your time that isn't adding significant value to your job, which gives you the ability to focus on other things that are more important, like program outcomes, like really thinking about policy in more depth, like thinking about ways you can continue to provide better services, like handling some troubleshooting on things, handling constituent inquiries. So I mean, there's an opportunity there where it's going to make our jobs easier. But I think that taking away from the jobs now, I think it's going to bring a lot more opportunity for people to continue to learn more and to leverage it.
Okay, good. All right. We got a couple questions from the audience. So let's start with this one. I am skeptical of ChatGPT for ethical reasons, but I'm also curious about its potential. What educational materials do you suggest to learn more about ethical usage and using ChatGPT, or presumably, any other large language model, to expand equitable access to information?
So I actually am with an organization and have been involved with them for quite a while out of UPenn called the Actionable Intelligence for Social Policy. And they've been focusing a lot on the ethical use of algorithms, machine learning, advanced statistics. So that's a great resource. If you go out and you Google AISP UPenn, you'll find that website there, and there's a ton of different content that can help you on the ethics side of things. But if you think about it, we haven't had data ethicists as a class course profession, major, even a minor in any of our higher educations. We have not been teaching ethics and data. So that's something that there's some shortfall in. So what I did is I hired the the ethics officer for the state out of the office of the inspector general, and she's now on my team. So I tried to get a little bit ahead of the game by hiring an ethics professional that could help us think through these things. But no, the ethics is not built into the current state of our AI, which is why there's a number of things that you have to do during these developments. So as they're being developed, have people that understand intimately the outcomes that you're trying to get, and intimately how bias can be put in here, where those challenges come from. I mean, there's a lot of stories about bias being put into some of the technology out there, like hand dryers that don't recognize certain colors of people's skin, so they won't turn on. So there's lots of things that are out there. But I think another good thing to be thinking about, and that we're going to see more of, and this is where we're going to see those added jobs around AI. There's something called red teaming. And what a red team does is after an AI product or a machine learning product or any of those products is created, they try to tear it up from every angle. Now, not maliciously, but they try to make it give you wrong outcomes. They try to break into it and cause changes. So it's more of a quality control mechanism to make sure that you're getting the intended outcomes, or finding errors in the logic or how the AI is applying things, or maybe the potential that it doesn't have enough data to learn on, which I think is something that we're going to find out in a lot of areas. We just haven't been collecting all the data that we need to create quality AI, or the data that we have is not of the quality that's necessary to have good AI. So yeah, ethics are definitely a consideration. We should always have that on the front of our thoughts for all this. So learning more about that, I definitely recommend going to AISP and looking at some of their resources, and continuing to keep an eye on what's happening in higher ed and some of the other organizations around data and ethics and it's going to be an emerging role, definitely.
And I'm guessing that this really does become sort of a professional development issue, that if I'm going to be applying for a job somewhere, that having training on AI and ethics might be kind of give me an edge over other applicants. Do you see that becoming a thing?
I do see that becoming a thing. I mean, that proves that you're a little more efficient. It proves that you're better versed in data. I mean, our data proficiency globally is really low. A lot of people just want to look at one number. Like, so if I tell you, John, I'm going to give you 10% of the money that's in my pocket, is that the only thing you want to know?
No, I want to know how much money is there.
Yeah, so you can calculate what I'm going to give you. And if you know me well, I don't carry cash, so you're not getting anything. But these are the things that having just a better basic understanding of data and the collection of data and how we can use it, and the importance of data quality, and the importance of looking at more than one number, learning how to navigate dashboards, data dashboards. So moving from the traditional report structure into being able to really manipulate data and do some data storytelling on your own, I think are going to be really critical skills. And I think we're going to see that more and more coming out. I mean, you really don't see a whole lot of people putting the Office suite on their resume anymore, because it's just assumed everybody has used Office at some point in time or something very similar. So it's just kind of an assumed skill set. But these skill sets that are really emerging in the data space and in the AI space, I think are going to be very nice additives to folks' resumes and their applications.
Okay, great. All right, got another question here. All right, our office uses critical thinking exercises to screen applicants. We've started getting, large language model generated answers, even though we explicitly ask applicants not to use them. So far, we've been able to identify them because they use, predictable formatting and turns of phrase, et cetera, et cetera. Another office that uses critical thinking exercises have reported similar experiences. But as large language models improve, I expect it'll become increasingly difficult to identify these answers. What do we do? Yeah, do you have any tips for that? And I know schools are wrestling with this, of course, all the time now too.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about this, there's an incentive on the other side to create AI that can determine if people are using AI for generating things like that. So I think even as the AI is improving to do some of those things that we really don't want people to do, and we're asking them not to, I think that the ability to detect those things will continue to improve, even if it's lagged just a little bit behind it. It will continue to improve, and we'll be able to use those tools to readily identify, where these things are happening. So I don't have a huge concern in it getting really out of balance there, because there's already people that are working on it, especially in the education space, as AI has become maturing and whatnot. And students are learning more and more, well, I don't want it to be the first output because everybody's going to use the first output. So it looks like everybody, copied each other's work. But being able to figure those things out, I think there's going to be emerging technology space there. And it's just going to be a minor lag behind it and eventually really catch up.
Okay, great. All right, another question. Is there a future for AI in work that needs to be air gapped, that's very sensitive, where you can't have it being part of some public model? What do you see?
Facial recognition is a really good example of that. I mean, it's in a very secure environment. Really, facial recognition just measures things from point to point, and it creates enough measures that it can tell really who you are. And the stuff's gotten really, really good. But it is secure. And I'm actually working on something right now that is, it needs to be in a very extremely secure environment to do it. But there's already environments that are stood up, like FedRAMP and StateRAMP are doing some great work on pre-vetting things. We have each of the major cloud providers are providing specific Gov Cloud, which has a higher standard around security. So it's meeting more of those requirements that we need to work in those space, especially if you work with criminal justice information. You really have to be working in the Gov Cloud to meet all the requirements from a security standpoint. So yeah, it's going to be able to be used in those environments. But the thing to keep in mind, it's only going to be as good as the data you have in those sensitive environments. So if you've got crummy data, if you're putting garbage or you're putting AI on top of the garbage in your air-gapped system, you're going to get garbage out of your AI. I mean, it's the same thing that we've heard for ages in the IT space: garbage in, garbage out. So you really have to have a good foundation. It's kind of like math. You learn basic math, and then you can learn algebra, and then you learn statistics. But you can't do it the other way around. You have to have foundations. So there's prerequisites to being able to do some of that, especially in a sensitive environment, that you need to have. And a lot of that's good data governance and documentation. That's we need to know what we have, where it's at, what the quality is, what are the regulations and requirements around it, and a lot of it's going to be some busy work because it's not in our current systems.
You know, it's interesting. I heard an IRS official talk, and they were saying, you know, they see great potential for using AI to basically provide an interface to IRS tax information, tax forms, et cetera. But she said the problem was that they had all these old files in their system, you know, that you wouldn't find if you went looking because, you know, they're hidden, but the AI finds it. Yeah. And they said the problem is that all that old information is out there. And so if AI is going to return results, is it returning results from, you know, the most current information or documents or policies that are 15 years old?
Right. Yeah. I mean, so those are all things that if you have a good foundation of data, or at least you have to understand your foundation of data, so that you can identify that stuff when the AI starts to produce results and outputs. So understanding what those inputs are is very, very important.
Okay. So let me ask you this. What do you want people to take away from this session? You know, what do you really see as the takeaway here? Because I know, you know, I was anxious for this session. I know a lot of people are, because this is such a tricky topic. What's the big takeaway here?
Yeah, I hope by demystifying this a little bit and talking about some of these really important topics like ethics and the like will help people not be as afraid or concerned about AI and know that there's going to be quality control that's going to be put in place. There's going to be some governance and regulation and some guardrails around it. So hopefully it's reducing some of that concern of the unknown. But also I really hope that this is getting some creative juices going and getting some interest for people to go out and explore these tools. Even if it's not for, you know, your day-to-day work because of limitations from what you can or can't do. I mean, even in your personal life, being out there to go and explore, you know, the opportunities or just get curious about it to see, you know, what it can do, what it's capable of, because you're not going to really have a good idea of how you apply it if you don't really know what it can do. So I think that's the biggest takeaway is I want people to be curious and I want people to be thinking about, you know, technology enablement and where we can continue to leverage these things and try to, you know, keep learning. I think that's going to be really important for us to continue to provide, you know, good services and make good decisions and continue to evolve and be innovative. So I hope that people are taking away an innovative interest in exploring some of these AI options that are out there and hopefully some knowledge of what AI actually really is, how much depth there is to it, and how it's not a real narrow concept. It has that deep learning, the neural network stuff that is very, very advanced and complex, and we're not there yet. But you know, when we move out to the general stuff, you know, it's data mining. It's creating these AI, these algorithms that can do one thing really well, and then getting into machine learning where the algorithms are learning as they're doing things, how to do well. So that's hopefully giving everybody a better understanding of really what AI is, because it's become such a buzzword. And you know, it wasn't just a few years ago. Blockchain was the biggest buzzword. Everybody used to use blockchain. Nobody knew what blockchain was. Like a handful of people understand it. Like, okay, it's a mutable distributed ledger, which is it's what makes blockchain work. But I mean, do you see blockchain everywhere? I mean, blockchain doesn't really come up very often. So I think this is an emerging topic, but I think it's going to continue to evolve into more focused application space. But always remember, it's the quality and the availability of your data and your data foundation that is going to make AI successful in your organization. So if you got dirty data, think about how you can improve it. If you're implementing things, think about all the data that you're going to need to help make better decisions in the future. Make sure you have data-minded folks in the room besides just the line of business and the IT folks. Because IT folks, if you tell it to make widgets and you give it requirements, it'll make widgets. but it might not give you the data that you want to use in the future, or thinking about future repurpose of that data. So I think those are really important things to take away.
All right, great. All right, well, we
Let's
are out of time. So
should
Josh,
we see
again,
how horrible I did here?
Oh, wait, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
let's see that. Yeah. Hey,
there we
look at
go.
that.
Hey, thank you all. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that this was a good learning experience and that you're taking some ideas away. I urge you to explore, definitely explore this topic. And what I want to share is this disclaimer about AI-assisted brainstorming is, while the core ideas and structure of this work are my own, I want to acknowledge the use of AI tools during the brainstorming and outlining phases. AI-assisted in generating creative ideas and exploring different structural possibilities, which help me develop a more comprehensive and innovative approach to this session, as well as generating this disclaimer. So thank you all. Appreciate your input and questions, and it was a pleasure talking about something I'm so passionate about.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I know I learned a lot. I think this is very exciting. I know it's something that we're all going to be having to dig into over the next year. So this has been wonderful. So thank you, Josh. And hey, I also want to thank our 2024 NextGen Partner Alliance for helping us to put on this summit. Now, I do have a few just reminders before everyone logs off. First, don't forget to fill out that CPE evaluation form. As I said before, you can find that in the console, in the resource module, or in the main environment, you can find that in the resource center. And let's see, so we have a little time before our lunch keynotes. Our lunch keynotes will begin at 12:30 Eastern time. If you're not on the East Coast, may not be a lunch keynote, but a keynote nonetheless. But between now and then, we have a wonderful exhibit hall where you can get lots of information, download lots of resources. So I really encourage you to use your time to go check that out. Otherwise, we will see you at our lunch keynotes, and you can access those sessions through the conference hall in the main environment. So, please do that there, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.